Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, you're joining us in the shadows of classic American cinema. We are talking about film noir.
That whole black and white world of, private eyes, tough talk, and that constant feeling of dread.
Exactly. But this deep dive isn't just about the mood. It's about the essential co-conspirator in pretty much every one of these films, the city of Los Angeles.
That's our mission today. We're going to unpack the historical, aesthetic, even political threads that connect these 1940s films to post-World War II America.
And also to pre-war European cinema, which is a huge part of the story.
A huge part.
And right off the bat, we have this amazing paradox. These films feel so purely American, yet the name itself, film noir, it wasn't even coined here.
Right. It was named years later across the Atlantic by French critics. Imagine that. You have this massive cultural moment, and another culture is the one to finally put a name to it.
So they're looking back on it.
Completely in hindsight, it was these critics, Raymond Board and Etienne Chamacon, who saw this pattern when American films flooded back into Europe after the war. Their big book on it came out in 1955.
Okay, so that big time lag.
Yeah.
That has to be the source of the big academic debate, right?
Yeah.
Is it a genre, a style, or something else?
It's hugely contested, and that's exactly why. Someone like Paul Schrader argued it's not a genre at all, not like a Western, with cowboys and saloons.
It doesn't have that consistent iconography.
Right. He said it was defined by these subtle qualities of tone and mood. Just a feeling.
But if it's just a mood, how do we even talk about it as a coherent thing?
Well, that's where other critics come in. Alain Silver, for example, he pushes for the term noir cycle.
A cycle.
Yeah, a cycle. Think of it as a specific period, a historically defined group of films that all share this unity of formal vision, as he puts it. They share a style, they share industrial practices, and for us, the key is how they all represent the city.
So for this noir cycle, what's the visual DNA? What immediately tells you you're watching one? Is it just like lots of shadows?
The shadows are the foundation, absolutely. That extreme, low-key chiaroscuro lighting. But it's what the lighting does. It works with these skewed camera angles to make characters look isolated, lonely, trapped in these big, empty city spaces.
The camera always feels a little off-kilter.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the setting is almost always night, often raining. Then you get those voiceover narrations, the flashbacks. You're dropped right into the middle of a mess.
And the themes are always corruption, betrayal, and this real crisis of masculinity that the Femme Fatale just loves to exploit.
And that crisis always plays out in one place, Los Angeles.
Right. The source material calls L.A. the co-conspirator. So beyond the obvious fact that Hollywood was there, why L.A.? Why was it so essential?
It just offered this perfect symbolic landscape for alienation. See, at that time, LA itself was going through a massive structural change. The sources talk about it shifting from a centripetal to a centrifugal organization.
Whoa, okay, that sounds very academic. Break that down for us. What does that actually look like on screen? Does that mean the city just stops having a clear center?
That's it, exactly. Old cities were built around a powerful center. But post-war LA just sprawled. It became decentralized, suburban. And that lack of a stable core created what the sources call a centrifugal identity.
So everyone's just sort of spinning away from the center, untethered.
Yes, that constant sense of movement, of being perpetually lost, that's the rootlessness you see in every single noir protagonist.
Which explains the obsession with all those transitional spaces.
Exactly. Hotels, streetcars, alleys, and especially train stations.
Yeah.
Union Station in LA is practically a character itself. It shows up in Crisscross, DOA, T-Men. It's always a place of fatalism.
And films would use famous landmarks as establishing shots, right? Like City Hall or the library and the Big Sleep. But I love the examples where they kind of twist that.
Oh, Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard is the masterclass in this.
Yeah.
The title is one of the most glamorous streets in the world, but that opening shot, it's just the asphalt. It withholds all the glamour and just gives you this cold, indifferent surface.
That cold indifference, that emotional detachment that connects right back to urban theory, doesn't it? To George Simmel's idea of the metropolitan type.
It really does. Simmel argued that the constant stimulation of city life, all the noise and crowds, it makes people develop a defense mechanism. He called it the blasé attitude.
You become immune to shock, but you're also kind of addicted to pleasure-seeking.
Exactly. And you see that perfectly in The Big Sleep. The Sternwood sisters, Vivian and Carmen, they are just dripping with old money, but they're so jaded, so reckless.
And their house symbolizes it. The greenhouse with the orchids.
Yes, the orchids. It's the symbol of over-civilization of something beautiful but also decaying in an artificial environment. It perfectly mirrors the daughter's own addictions to gambling and drugs.
So the decay of the inner space matches the moral decay of the people in it.
100%. And those interior spaces, the bars, the hidden casinos, that's where the underworld lives. It's where all the rigid lines of class and race and gender in the 1940s just seem to dissolve for a moment.
And where desire runs wild.
But that desire had to be so tightly controlled. This is so important to remember. The Hays Office production code was in full force.
Right. And it was incredibly strict. It banned everything from showing too much violence to portraying adultery as attractive, no excessive kissing, no suggestive postures.
And absolutely no sex perversion, which was a catch-all that included miscegenation.
So how on earth did filmmakers get around that? I mean, the sources talk about a scene that's basically a simulation of sex, but the actors never even touch. How do you pull that off?
This is the big aha moment. It's from a 1944 film by Robert Seidmick called Phantom Lady, and the whole scene is just a masterclass in working around the censors using pure expressionism.
Okay, tell us about the drums.
The main character, Kansas, she's looking for a clue, and she follows this drummer to a wild underground jam session. And the camera just cuts back and forth between the drummer's sweaty, intense face and her face as he launches into this insane drum solo.
So it's all about the music and the reaction.
It's all sound and rhythm and reaction. One writer called it one of the steamiest scenes in film because the entire sexual act is conveyed through the music and their exhausted, almost post-coital release afterwards. The censors were completely baffled.
That is genius. And relying on that kind of visual language to show inner feelings,
Yeah.
that points straight to the European connection, right? The directors like Fritz Lang, Billy Wilder.
Seod Mack himself, all of them fled Hitler's dictatorship. And this creates this really surprising pivot in their careers.
How so?
Well, back in Weimar, Germany, many of them were dedicated to an aesthetic called new objectivity.
Which was?
Very realist. Sober, focused on utility, sometimes even optimistic. But then they get to Hollywood and they suddenly pivot hard into expressionism.
The total opposite. Distorted perspectives, dramatic shadows, all about depicting unconscious desires. Why the massive switch?
I think it was the perfect language for trauma. These were exiles. They'd lost their homes, their language, their culture. They were processing this incredible trauma of persecution, of the violence rising against Jews in Europe.
So Expressionism let them translate all that internal fear and displacement into a cinematic language that didn't need words.
Precisely. And that trauma, combined with the Hays Code forcing everything to be subtext, it was the perfect incubator for the femme fatale.
Ah, yes. The ultimate expression of male anxiety. She is never who she seems, she's dangerous, and she has a secret that the hero has to aggressively expose.
And it almost always ends with her destruction. The interpretation is that it's a reassertion of control on the part of the threatened male subject.
And they were even shot differently, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. No soft focus Hollywood glamour for the femme fatale. She gets tough, unromantic close-ups, direct, hard light that makes her look statuesque, alluring, but completely impenetrable.
And crucially, she and the city become one and the same. They sort of reflect each other.
They're twin seductions. In Criss Cross, the hero is seduced by his ex-lover Anna, but he's also being swallowed by the city at the same time. His one chance to escape both gets. Well, crisscrossed at Union Station. The voiceover even says it. Everywhere you go, you see her face.
She is the city.
She is the city.
Okay, so let's try to pull all of these threads together. Let's use our deep dive case study. Billy Wilder's Double Indemnity.
The perfect synthesis of the entire cycle. It opens with that car racing through the empty LA night, and the whole story is framed by Walter Neff's confession into a dictaphone.
You can't get more alienated than that.
It's the voice of alienation, literally captured on tape.
And we have our passive male hero, Walter Neff, the insurance agent, and the ice-cold femme fatale, Phyllis Dietrichson. Their houses even represent them.
It's a perfect contrast. You have her overstuffed and dusty Spanish mansion, which feels old and suffocating. And then you have Walter's dark, bare apartment, which literally and metaphorically keeps him in the dark.
And the expressionist lighting is everywhere. The most famous example, of course, is the Venetian blinds.
Yes. The light cutting through the blinds in her living room, creating those stark shadow patterns, like a cage. Even when she visits him, she stands right next to a lamp, so one side of her face is brightly lit and the other is pure shadow.
Visibly showing her double personality, her duplicity.
It's right there on the screen.
And even though there wasn't a lot of location shooting, Wilder still grounds all of that style in a very real, gritty Los Angeles through the dialogue.
That's so vital. The voiceover is constantly dropping specific street names and places.
Hmm.
Walter talks about driving down Wilshire past Lafayette Park. They meet at the big market in Los Feliz.
And that was a real place, right? They had to get police to guard the set dressing because food was being rationed.
That's right. And even tiny details are specific. The train leaves from Glendale. The emergency call is made on Olive Street. It cements the whole psychological nightmare in a real, recognizable place.
So when you step back, film noir is so much more than just detective stories. It's this very specific, cinematic language.
Born from trauma, restricted by a moral code, and completely obsessed with the rootless, sprawling identity of modern Los Angeles.
The shadows, the skewed angles, they aren't just for mood. They're spilling out this deep cultural anxiety about the modern city and really about masculinity itself.
And that anxiety has to be resolved through control. Walter Neff's loneliness makes him a perfect target for the Femme Fatale's promise, which is really the city's promise. But the patriarchal order has to be restored in the end. He confesses to his boss, Keyes, the father figure, and Phyllis is punished.
The source material says she only offers illusionary power.
Before she's destroyed for her transgressions, yes.
So, since the French critics are the ones who define this as a unified cycle, based on all these shared conventions, we'll leave you with this. Is the necessary punishment of the femme fatale just a reflection of mid-century male anxiety? Or is it a crucial, non-negotiable part of the formula? Does it have to happen for a film to truly be a part of the noir cycle? Something to think about the next time you see those Venetian blind shadows on the screen.